Welcome back, my students. I hope all of you are making the most out of your quarantine situations, are making the most out of your Plato lessons, and enjoying being able to, not have to follow the dress code, be able to sit in your pajamas and do your lessons, all right, and continue your learning process. As you can see, I'm still dressing up though for these videos, right? For trying to teach you guys over the interwebs. All right, so this is released on this video is being released on Tuesday, and it is over the second lesson for week 1 for government. That lesson is titled Government and the Economy. So it's going to be talking about the various ways the government involves itself within the economy within the United States. The first lesson talks about key terms, concepts that you need to understand to be able to understand the economy in the United States. Now we're going to look at and analyze the government's key roles it plays. All right, this only has 29 slides. Not that many, because most of those, or a lot of them, aren't they don't have a lot on them for you to interact with. So in general, there's still raging debate between the different pools of thought and theory within the economic realm of how the government should involve itself in our economy. Right? You have you'll see Keynesian economics in here, and I'm not going to go into those types of theories, but just know that they exist and that they are every day fighting over what to do with our economy. And you can see that playing out on a national scale right now with the $2 trillion stimulus package that President Trump has just signed. There's individuals that want it. There's individuals that don't want it. There's intense debate between our lawmakers and between average citizens. So fiscal policy. Fiscal policy on slide 5 is what we call the government's efforts to influence and maintain economic stability in the private sector through laws, spending policies, and taxation. So fiscal policy is the government's regulation or interference within our economy to maintain the stability of our system. So that's what's happening right now. The government is giving businesses money to maintain the stability so we don't have a crash. We're trying to maintain the economy as it has been recently. All right, so the executive and legislative branches play massive roles in that. We have learned about when we talked about federalism and reserved and concurrent powers and delegated powers. We know, as we looked at the branches, that the executive, representatives, and Senate have roles as well. So if you're looking at slide 6, taxation, everybody should know this. What is taxation a concurrent or a delegated or a reserved power? I'll give you a minute to think. It is concurrent. The federal and state levels of government have the ability to tax. Who can tell me what amendment created the federal income tax? I'll wait again. The 16th Amendment, all right? For those of you that got that right, congratulations. All right. So the federal government does not give us sales taxes. They only have a federal income tax. All right, so states can pick whether they want to have an income tax. States like Florida do not have one. However, their sales tax is generally higher than states like Ohio, who have both a sales and federal income tax. So those taxes go to providing schools, fixing bridges, right? Hospitals, police, fire, all of those things are paid for through taxes. So taxes are a good thing. Really, nobody likes paying taxes. I don't like to see that my taxes coming out of my paycheck because I lose a lot to taxes. But you need to look at those, basically that opportunity cost. What are those benefits we're getting from those taxes? Taxes have always been complained about since the beginning of time, but they are needed in a democratic society like ours that provides a lot of luxuries and a lot of benefits to its citizens. On slide 7 is pretty important. It talks about the different types of taxes. So sales taxes are called regressive taxes. Regressive taxes hurt people that earn less money. Right? So let's look at that. So regressive taxes hurt people that earn less money. So if a person that makes $1 million a year and a person that makes $50,000 a year buys, let's say, a watch, because I like watches, we'll use a watch example. If they buy an $800 watch, they will have to pay a sales tax on that $800 watch. Even though the millionaire, makes a lot more money than the person who makes $50,000 a year, they both pay the same sales tax on that watch. That sales tax is going to hurt the person that makes less money more because they have less money. That sales tax to a millionaire does not mean a single thing. So that is why regressive taxes hurt people that make less money. Other taxes, like income taxes, are progressive. This means the more you make, the more you pay to a certain percentage. So in theory, which a lot of times doesn't happen, I'll tell you why. People that, make tons of money pay more in taxes, right? They're supposed to. That's a progressive tax. However, because of tax breaks, tax deductions, a lot of rich people, because a lot of rich individuals own companies, they can write stuff off, which means they can claim expenses or they spent money toward their business or gave toward charity so they can get out of some taxes. All right, so right now you're seeing that. I'm seeing celebrities all over the place donate money to this COVID crisis. I know Roger Federer, professional tennis player, pledged $1 million to charity. Brooks Koepka, who is one of the top golfers in the world, he's given $100,000 to charity. Right? It's all good that they're giving that money. However, they're writing that off of their taxes. So they're going to, in the end, make up for that. Right? In theory, they're not really spending any money because they're getting out of taxes, because they're giving to charity. So basically, once you get to those higher income brackets, there's a lot of ways to get out of taxes. That's why Warren Buffett, who is a billionaire, one of the richest people in the world, he says that it's wrong that he pays a lower percentage in taxes than his cleaning lady does, because she doesn't have those exemptions because she doesn't own a business. And she can't afford really good accountants and lawyers. All right, so enough of that. Let's move on. All right. Slide 9, you're going to see trade and globalization. Globalization and trade are one of the reasons why we are in the situation we are in currently with the COVID crisis. Our world is so interconnected that if something happens in China, it can quickly move to America or England or Italy, right? Because of trade and because of people traveling. So on one hand, trade and globalization is good because we can get things from Wish.com or Amazon that are from China instantly almost. However, there are negatives, right? Whether that be economic issues or human rights issues with factories in China, or with epidemics or pandemics, with viruses spreading because of trade. So it's important to, once again, look at the pros and cons of our economic system and of our way of life. Slide 10 is talking more about, why it's not really always good to have interdependent or codependent economies. Because if the United States, if our economy is based on China and China's economy goes down, then America's will go down. So it's not always a good thing to be reliant on somebody else. Free trade. Pros and cons of free trade is talked about on slide 11. NAFTA, which was signed into law, the North American Free Trade Agreement, free trade between Canada, America, and Mexico, was signed by President Bill Clinton. And under Bill Clinton was the first time America was able to balance our budget. And otherwise, we made more money than we spent. That happened in 1999, 2000, and 2001. That was the last time that's ever happened. Since then, we have run, as a country, deficits every year. We've gone into debt more and more and more every year. So since Clinton, we have not made any money as a country. And part of that, a lot of people think, Trump included, is a result of NAFTA, of this free trade, right? Because of this free trade, American companies are being hurt by it. We're not making any money by goods coming into the country. So there's competing, once again, pools of thought on NAFTA and free trade, whether or not it's good or not. Going on. Slide 13 now, the federal budget. You should remember that the executive branch, the president, vice president, cabinet members are responsible for proposing the annual federal budget yearly. All right, so every year, the president, executive branch proposes the federal budget. So that's what the government's going to spend on defense, military, paying federal workers, infrastructure, roads, bridges, all of that good stuff. Slide 13 breaks down the percentages of each one of those spending categories. We also talked about the role the legislative branch plays within money, right? If you remember the word appropriations, all laws or bills having to do with money or appropriation bills start in the House of Representatives. The House, basically on slide 14, it talks about how the House has the power of the purse. They have the purse. They control the money that is spent. No money can be spent without House approval, without legislative branch approval. So that is why, if you're paying attention to the $2 trillion stimulus package that President Trump just signed into office, it had to be approved by both the House and the Senate, right? Before it could be signed by the president into law. And luckily, they were able to get that done relatively quickly. It didn't go as smoothly as many had hoped, though. Debt and deficits. This is starting on slide 16. A deficit is basically the difference between what you earn and what you spend. So let's say you between your cell phone payment, your car payment, car insurance, your food, and your housing, right? You have to spend let's say $1,000 a month, right? And all that, you pay $1,000 a month. However, you only make $800 a month. You're at a deficit, right? There's $200 there that you do not have, that you do owe, though. Right? So you need to look at ways, just like the government looks at ways, to reduce our expenditures, what we spend, right, to eliminate or reduce the deficits and then therefore debt. Because if you're spending money that you do not have, you're going to run into debt. So that's why you need to be careful with credit cards. I would have loved to teach you guys about credit cards, but with credit cards, treat it as a debit card. A debit card is linked to your checking account, all right? And you can only spend the money that you have. It's basically like cash. Right? A debit card is like cash. You can only spend what you have. Credit cards, you have a limit on that credit card of what you can spend, right? And typically it's thousands of dollars. You can have $2 in your bank account, but you can still spend thousands of dollars on your credit card. A lot of people get into trouble with that. Do not do that. Only spend on your credit card what you have in your checking account, what you have cash. Because if you don't have cash to pay off your credit card, you're going to run into debt. You're going to have to pay interest rates. You're going to be in trouble. So only spend what you have, and try not to spend what you have. Try to save your money. Okay, and that's the same idea that our country tries to follow as well. Once again, public debt. So that's the debt of citizens is up to 11 trillion. Right? And that's a major fault of that is, or culprit of that is credit cards. So stay away from spending excessive amounts on credit cards. You have a couple activities to go through. And lastly, so we get to the Federal Reserve and monetary policy. So basically, how the government controls the money supply. Right? So on slide 21, so when inflation is high, right, so the price of the dollar's decreasing, let's say goods like coffee are increasing in price, the Fed is going to take, or the Federal Reserve, aka the Fed, is going to take a tight money approach, or a contractionary, contracting, shrinking. They're going to contract the money supply. They're going to take contractionary policy. Basically, by restricting the amount of money in the economy, they're going to reduce inflation, bring prices down, increase the value of the dollar, or stabilize the value of the dollar. So in an era of low inflation, on the other hand, expansionary policy is going to be taken, right? This is expansionary, expanding. These policies are going to be increasing the money supply. All right. So currently, with this stimulus bill that President Trump just signed, we're going to be taking on expansionary monetary policy. We're pumping money into the economy to stimulate spending by consumers, to help businesses out, to keep our economy afloat, and even increase our economy. So that's expansionary policy. However, that's going to increase the inflation rate and ultimately reduce the value of the dollar, because as inflation goes up, a dollar does not go as far. If we skip ahead to slide 22, it's going to be talking about, in the end of slide 21 and 22, talk about interest rates. Interest rates are basically the rental price of money. If you borrow money, and if you buy a car or something that you cannot pay cash for, you have to get a loan. All loans have interest rates on it. Right? So basically, it's the cost of renting that money. You have to pay off that money in a certain amount of years, and you have a certain interest rate. Right? So you're going to end up paying more than what you took out, but that's the cost you have to pay. So as interest rates go up, that's contractionary policy. They're discouraging spending money. Right? Because if interest rates are going up and you have to pay more to rent money, people aren't going to want to do that. People aren't going to want to rent money if they have to pay more. In an expansionary policy, interest rates are going to go down. Right? Currently, President Trump has ordered that all interest rates go to zero. That is expansionary policy, because they want to stimulate people going out to buy cars, buy houses, because there's a zero rental fee. Right? I don't think that's going to be very realistic. I don't really think that's going to be widely used or really possible, because you can't have 0%, right? Banks have to make money, right? It might be a very low percentage, but I highly doubt it's going to be 0. And then slide 22 is going to be talking about bonds, government bonds. If the government is buying bonds, they're pumping money into the economy, giving people money for those bonds. That's expansionary fiscal policy or monetary policy. If they're selling bonds, right, they're trying to sell bonds, people are paying for those. They're taking people's money. They're pulling money out of the economy, tightening up, contracting the economy. That's going to be a contractionary move by the economy. Okay. Enough of that. Sorry if I talked really quick and was very technical there. Had to do it. Slide 24 starts the history and impact of economic policy within the United States. Until the Great Depression of the late 1920s, the government really did not interfere with the economy much. That is why we had a Great Depression, because Wall Street was doing whatever they wanted, and companies were doing whatever they wanted, and it brought us to a point of collapse. So on slide 25, there's a great timeline, interactive timeline with pictures and summaries of key events. The start of the New Deal in 1933 was FDR's attempt to bring back the United States' economy. He created such functions of our country's economy, or I would say country's government, such as the SEC. A lot of you probably heard of the SEC. It's the Securities and Exchange Commission. This was, fun fact, the first commissioner of the SEC was Joseph Patrick Kennedy, JFK's father, who was buddies with FDR, was the first chairman of the SEC. The SEC regulates basically the stock market and and tries to prohibit companies from doing what they did originally, which brought us to the Great Depression. So because of these new institutions and monetary policy and government fiscal policy, all of these government oversight has helped get us to where we are today. That's basically it. I hope that this helped all of you out. I wish I could have taught this to you actually at the high school. In my classroom, I miss my classroom, but we are making do with the current situation and what we have to do. This is the new normal, people. All right, once again, if you have questions, feel free to email me. You have my emails. You have my email address. I sent you an email. It's on the staff website. It's on my website. Also, tell friends, help friends out if they have questions and they can't find an answer to it. If you're my 3rd or 8th period, email Miss Saletti. All right? Stay safe out there. Be kind. Keep up the good work. El Prez signing out.